Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the 144,000 and the rest of the elect. This is the brother Yachanan from the GMS Houston camp, and this is just a quick lesson touching on Esau's perpetual hatred. And a lot of Jake, you two-thirds, you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, you Edomites, the so-called white people, and all you other nations, hey, you deny, Esau's hatred towards us, but hey, the history of this country, which Esau is actively trying to erase. Matter of fact, let me read this first, and I'll get it in a second. So I'm gonna start up a little bit. This is Ezekiel 35, and I'll start at verse 1. And matter of fact, it says prophecy against Mount Seir, and Mount Seir is Edom. Matter of fact, before I get that, oh, did I spell that right? No, just right there. So this is Genesis chapter 36 and verse 8. Thus dwelt Esau in Mount Seir. Esau is Edom. So the name, the place, so the names Esau and Edom are synonymous. And also a Mount Seir is also synonymous with Esau. Just how what is it? Jerusalem is synonymous with Mount Zion. It's just representative. It can be a placeholder name, whatever. It just represents that. So Mount Seir is speaking of Esau, Edom. Now let me get this here also. I'm gonna keep these tabs open. So Genesis 25 and let's see 27. And I'm going to jump down to the point. And Genesis 25 and verse 30, and Esau said to Jacob, feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom, which Edom, or Adawam, that means red. Esau is Ishashwa, which means a wasted away is he. And you'll see, people trying to say Edom, that means, Adam or whatever. That means, from the, they'll try to mix up the definition, but it's Adawam. Let me see what it says right here. See, it says right here Adam, but it's actually Adawam. But hey, I'm not focusing on all that. But it's just Esau became synonymous with Mount Seir and with the raw pottage that Esau sold his birthright for, which was red. It was a red pottage that Esau sold his birthright for. So he's also synonymous with being red. Plus, he also came out red all over, like a hairy garment, meaning that his pigmentation was stripped away. So back to, let's see, Ezekiel 35 and verse 2. Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir and prophesy against it. So the Lord is the prophets are the mouthpiece of the Lord. This isn't just Ezekiel just saying this out of his mouth. No, this is a prophecy, a proclamation from the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, against Mount Seir. So let's see what that word, if it pops up, against. No, that's all right. So prophesy against it, meaning this ain't gonna be good for you. And say unto it, thus saith the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee, and I will stretch out mine hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate. And hey, guess what? Hey, nobody's dwelling right now in Mount Seir. That's currently Jordan. I mean, there's people over there, but the only thing that you're gonna see over there is, the red rocks of Petra. That little that Edomite. Dang, I forgot what it's called. I think that is the name of it. And that Canary mission, that's basically a small hat database of who they deem are anti-sim. About to put Smetra. So when you see this building, they'll say, "Oh, that was dang, who did they say it was again?" Nah, I can't remember. Slaki, it slips my mind right now. But this is the Edomites. You see the structure today. This structure here. You see it has the pillars, all that, the little columns, and I think there's an eagle at the top too. And even then, like the structures right there, you see I've never really seen it this close. That would have been a statue of a man right there, and another statue there. But you see all this. This is very Romanesque style building, and that still persists today. And Salaki, I'm just and you can see it. You can see it. If you can't see it, man, nigga, stop lying. You see it. That's Petra. That's in Mount Seir. That's where it is. That's the Roman design, and that design, all that stuff. Ooh, I'm gonna read that later. And you see it today. You see it today. Oh, oh, I don't know. It's just a coincidence. Shut up, nigga. So Ezekiel 35 and verse 3 again, and say unto it, thus saith the Lord Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai, behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee, and I will stretch out mine hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate. And how is he going to do that in these days? By the thermonuclear destruction, by the ICBMs that are going to come raining down on this wicked nation, Babylon the Great. They're going to come raining down on America, and there is nothing that anybody can do to stop this from happening. Nothing. It's already in motion. I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. And here's the point what I wanted to get to. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. So you had a perpetual hatred. If you read Genesis 27, matter of fact, I'll get it. Just so nobody can say, well, you're lying, you didn't see it. And you see Edomites all the time. They just say random shit and people just fucking go with it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. There were no black people ever, anywhere, ever, in the history of anything ever. You do your entire history. Matter of fact, you weren't even in the deep jungles of Africa. You were somewhere, but you just manifested. When we needed slaves, you manifested, and other black people sold you to us, and then, yeah. And now you're the problem. You didn't even exist, and now you're the problem. So I want to get to the point. Genesis 27, and matter of fact, Genesis 27 and 38. And Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept, please, father. After you already sold your birthright, you little. Anyway. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth. So the fatness of the earth, when you look into this word fatness, H4924, Mashaman, and it says fatness, but usually figuratively or concretely, a rich dish, a fertile field, so the best places to live. You notice wherever Esau goes, wherever he finds a place to colonize or whatever like that, It's a very beautiful place before he got there. A robust man, fat, and here it goes. Let me jump down the outline. One, fatness, a fat piece, a fertile place, richly prepared food. It says down here, number two, oil and olive oil. But oil, oil, oil. I'm just going to ask it. What is America's obsession with oil? The AI overview via Google. The idea that America is addicted to oil is a famous political metaphor first popularized by President G.W. Bush in his 2006 State of the Union address, highlighting the nation's immense petroleum consumption and reliance on global markets to fuel its economy and transportation. The scale of the addiction, high consumption. The U.S. consumes nearly 20% of the world's oil supply. World's U.S. oil. Anyway, the U.S. consumes nearly 20% of the world's oil supply, despite having only about 4% of the global population. God, duh. Despite being 13% of the population, they do 50% of the crime. Head ass. Transportation dependency. The vast majority of petroleum is used for transportation, gasoline and diesel. American cities and infrastructure are largely built around personal vehicles and trucking, making it difficult to instantly shift away from fossil fuels. They're so reliant on it. Anyway, the fatness of the land. I got another one to pop up. Let me see here. How do I? Dang, hold on a second. Uh, Let me look at that again. I freaking forgot. Let me see that. Oh, that's right. Should I say who uses? I bet it's gonna say China or some shit. God no. Who uses the most oil globally? The United States is the world's largest consumer of oil, using roughly 19 to 20 million barrels per day. This accounts for nearly 19% of the global. Oh, it said 20% on that last tab. Now it's saying 19. Come on, brother, you gotta be consistent now. This is this accounts for nearly 19% of the total global oil consumption, with about 70% of this usage driven by the transportation sector. So it has here the ranking: the United States, China, India, Saudi Arabia, and that Saudi Arabia, they're the ones that really it produce I would say a majority of the oil, and they don't even use that much. Yeah, no, because they selling it anyway. While the U.S. remains the top overall consumer, it is also currently the world's largest oil producer, making it a net exporter. But why are they saying we only have so much oil? Anyway, that's not the point of the lesson to get all into this fucking confusion shit. It's just showing that this is Esau Edom, this is Mount Seir, this is the place that's going to be destroyed right here. And pointing to Esau Edom, you got the fatness of the earth, you got all this, and you're heavily relying upon it, and it's gonna add to your destruction. Where was I? Genesis 27. So Genesis 27 and verse 39. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. And by thy sword shalt thou live. So by your sword, how are you gonna get the fatness of the earth? How are you gonna get all this oil? Oh, let me ask another question. Because hey, if you want to talk about here, hey, how did they get this? Uh, how did they get this oil here? Through genocide, through breaking treaties, through backstabbing, through their laws that they put up. Oh, okay. Domestic production. They just international imports. Oh, okay. Okay. They imported fair and square. Okay. I'll just find out a different way to ask that question. That's fine. Genesis 27:40, and by thy sword shalt thou live. Oh, let's see. You know that ain't. Oh, Haiti. Oh, okay. And it's like I'm just kind of. Oh, okay. Afghanistan. Oh, okay. It's Yemen. That's okay. Oh, it's all these guns. Okay, okay. Yeah, I got you. Oh, hold on. That was Russia right there. Right, okay, North Korea. Okay, all right. Okay, okay. I'll just do it like this. I'll do it. I'll do it like this. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, now it doesn't want to load. Okay, I see. Oh, North Korea. Okay, that don't even count because that was 1945. That country's barely 80 years old. Anyway, this shit is fucking pissing me off like fucking Chat GPT. That's why I don't use that shit no more. You about to be next, Google. Oh, there it goes. There you go. It's all you just have to ask the question right. You just got to phrase it right because this shit is fucking retarded. But hey, like a lot of things, you gotta ask. Like in this truth, hey, you learn what to ask for. Paul says, hey, the spirit groans. You're groaning, but the spirit knows what to ask for, even though you don't necessarily know what to ask for. In your groaning. So the spirit knows what to ask for, but in this truth, you learn uh, basically how to ask questions, kind of thing. How to ask questions, what questions to ask, what to pray for, things like that. But this is just a trial and error. I'm saying in this instance here, learning how to ask the right question because like you see, I got all kinds of different answers based off of the question I was trying to ask. I'm trying to talk too fast. I'm a little excited. So I put in here, what country has been at war for the majority of their existence? Depending on the definitions used, modern see definitions, how you define your question. Modern geopolitical data frequently highlights the United States as spending the highest percentage of its timeline at war, while countries like Afghanistan and North Korea have experienced the longest continuous modern conflicts. Which I wouldn't count though. I wouldn't count maybe Afghanistan, but that's where countries go to die really. Like every country that's gone to war in Afghanistan or anything like that, they fucking pretty much has been a tomb how you say a graveyard for them. You know, North Korea, that's a new country really. Like it hasn't even been 100 years. And that's through a American how do you say intervention. America and Chinese, all that kind of bullshit. They fucking split that shit up. You know, because existence can refer to a young nation's short lifespan or an ancient empire's thousands of years. So I was just looking at America. So Let's do it like this. You know what? Forget it. I'm tired of looking at that. So again, America's coming up on a 250 year anniversary since its the signing of the Declaration of Independence, and it's been at war. Okay, let's do it like this. I don't even know how to spell it. Yeah. How long has, if I'm asking it right? So out of the 250-year experience existence, how long has the U.S. been at war? Depending on how war is defined, how is war? Look at all this bullshit you got to go through with fucking Esau. What is war? What do you mean by war? Depending on how war is defined, the United States has been at war for roughly 230 of its 250 years. And they say that bullshit because, oh, in order for you to actually declare war, you got to go through Congress. But here it is, and they're talking about the war in Venezuela, the war in Iran, or war with Iran. And meanwhile, there's been no official declaration, but you hear the officials bring it up all the time. Oh, we're at war, and then they'll say, "Oh no, we're not at war. Oh, we're at war. We're not at war. We're at war. Not at war. War. No, war. All that kind of BS." So, depending on how war is defined, the United States has been at war roughly 230 of its 250 years, around 93% of its history, experiencing only about 15 to 20 years of complete, uninterrupted peace since 1776. Anyway, so you want to know who lives by the sword? You want to know who has the fatness and all the oil? Genesis 27, verse 40. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. So when you shall have the dominion, meaning the rulership, let's see here, dominion. H7300 Rawad says to tramp about, to ramble free, to wander, to restlessly roam. And that's Esau Edom, going back to Cain, being a vagabond, a fugitive and a vagabond. When you shall have the dominion, to be restless. This man is as deaf and cannot be satisfied. He always needs more, more, more. Like with the oil, it said they're addicted. So, and then Esau Edom, they broke the yoke when King David and King Solomon were in rulership, which is, King Solomon ruled after King David uh, went back to the heavens. Um, After King Solomon also went to the heavens, the kingdom was rent, and then Esau, Edom. You can read about all that in the Kings. Um, they rebelled, and then eventually, what popped up, you can read about it in Daniel the seventh chapter, Daniel 2, and then also in First Maccabees, Second Maccabees, how the Greeks. In First Maccabees, you read about Alexander the Great, or the Greek, and then his four generals that took over after his death, and it says evils were multiplied in the earth. And that was the Edomites that started the rule of the earth, and then the Romans. Those were Edomites. And you look at their architecture, you look at everything, their symbolism, all that stuff. It's all the same. This man cannot hide himself. He's being revealed in these last days. So, verse 41, and Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. So he was mourning, but deep down he hated Jacob and wanted to slay him. And he held on to that. And I'm going to jump down. Oh, you know what? Oh, you know what? That was it. I'm sorry. So, again, Genesis 27 and 41. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. So that hatred has lasted throughout the generations. And so where it says Ezekiel 35, because of thy perpetual hatred, this hatred has lasted through the generations, through from thousands of years ago all the way to now. That was before the Israelites went to Egypt. That was before Jacob even had his 12 sons. That was Jacob left to go stay with I'm sorry, Laban, stayed there, had 12 sons, came back, had to go past his brother Esau again, and had to deal wisely around him because he knew that he still had that hatred. And then went into Egypt. Our ancestors were in Egypt for 400 years, 430, including Joseph, because Joseph went in there first. He was there 30 years before the rest of the Israelites, his brethren, came. 70 of them stayed there 400 years, multiplied under that brutal rulership, came back out 400 years later. What did Esau do in their first chance? Matter of fact, the first time we came out of Egypt. Matter of fact, or is it? I think it's in. Because all we were trying to do was just pass through the land, and they came up against us. They slew the old and the young that were, in the back. Let me see. I'm gonna jump up to see what they did. This is Exodus 17, and Salaki. This is all over the place, but it just flowing. But bear with me, please. Exodus 17, and it says, you know what? Well, this is. I'll just get to the point on this one. This isn't what I'm thinking of. This is Exodus 17. This is the top tribe of Esau, and it says Exodus 17 and 14, Salakia. Exodus 17 and 14, and Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai said unto Moses, write this for a memorial in a book, and rehearse it into the ears of Yahushai. It says Joshua. That's his name. For I will utterly put out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. So this is going to come true, and it's going to come to pass. Amalek is still here today. And Moses built an altar and called the name of it Yahweh Nisai. And for he said, because the Lord have sworn that Yahweh will have war with Amalek from generation to generation. But let me see. Oh, that's not even. Dang it. Let me see here. Let me just Google it. Oh, okay. I thought that would have been the okay. My bad. Okay. Oh, I keep spelling it wrong. Genesis, Deuteronomy 25:17. So where was that? This is Deuteronomy 25:17. Remember what Amalek did unto thee by the way when ye were come forth out of Egypt, how he met thee by the way, and smote the hindmost of thee, even all that were feeble behind thee, when thou wast faint and weary, and he feared not the Most High. So this is what he did. He slew the weak, the feeble, and therefore it shall be when Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai thy power have given thee rest from all thine enemies round about in the land which Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai thy power giveth thee for an inheritance to possess it, that thou shalt blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven, thou shalt not forget it. Now the small hats, they use this, Amalek, they use this, the pretty much they say everybody around them, you know, they say they're Amalek, and they use that, they misuse that scripture, to justify their genocide. But hey, this is gonna flip on you. Um, there was another one. It was when they were trying to pass through. I think this is it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is Numbers 20 and verse 16. Numbers 20 and verse 16, and when we cried unto Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, we heard our voice. He heard our voice and sent an angel, and have brought us forth out of Egypt. And behold, we are in Kadesh, a city in the uttermost of thy border. Let us pass, I pray thee, through thy country. We will not pass through the fields or through the vineyards. Neither will we drink of the water of the wells. We will go by the king's highway. We will not turn to the right hand, nor to the left, until we have passed thy borders. And Edom said unto him, Thou shalt not pass by me, lest I come out against thee with the sword. So that sound like perpetual hatred? Does that not sound like it? Does that not sound like it? Is that not perpetual hatred? It's already been it's been 430 plus years. And you're like, nah, y'all can't come through. And the children of Israel said unto him, We will go by the highway, and if I and my cattle drink of thy water, then I will pay for it. I will only, without doing anything else, go through on my feet. And he said, Thou shalt not go through. And Edom came out against him with much people and with a strong hand. Thus Edom refused to give Israel passage through his border, wherefore Israel turned away from him. So it's showing the examples of this perpetual hatred. So let's see if I had anything else on that. Ezekiel 35 and verse 6. Therefore, as I live, saith the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Since thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. Thus I will make Mount Seir most desolate, and cut off from it him that passeth out and him that returneth. So you got hell coming to you, boy. Oh man, you got something bad coming to you, boy. Oh man. Woo-wee. So here in America, since this is a continuation of Esau Edom, so wherever Jake goes, there's still this same perpetual hatred. So I put in here laws that barred blacks, which is a byword, a proverb and a byword that's been put on us. When you read Genesis 28, it says you shall become a byword and a proverb, an astonishment. These curses shall be on you for a sign and a wonder. So how you get treated by Esau Edom, your number one enemy, that should be a big sign as to what's going on. So state level legislation, often referred to as black laws or exclusion laws, a history historically barred black Americans from residing in or entering certain U.S. territories and states. So that was back in the old days. This wasn't that long ago, nigga. This country's only 250 years old. When the fuck was it? Other states allowed black settlement, but strictly curtailed their rights, creating varying degrees of exclusion. Prominent examples of historical state level exclusion and restriction include Oregon, admitted to the Union as a free state in 1859. That's about 100 years after. It's close. It's about maybe 15 years, something like that. Maybe 15, 16 years. Oregon was the only state that explicitly included a black exclusion clause in its original constitution. So again, admitted to the Union as a free state in 1859. Yeah, free. It's a part of the Union. The Union freed the slaves. Yeah. If it wasn't for the Union, you blacks would still be in slavery. Yeah. Let's go. I'm not racist. Admitted to the Union as a free state in 1859, Oregon was the only state that explicitly included a black exclusion clause in its original constitution. This clause prohibited black Americans from entering, residing in, or owning property in the state. So you can't even go in the fucking state. I've been to Oregon. It's alright. I guess. It was a lot better before shit. I mean, I've only been to Portland and whatever little towns passing through on to Portland. It ain't fucking nothing. I like Washington a little bit better. Northern California a little bit better, but shit. Fuck this whole place. This clause prohibited black Americans from entering, residing in, or owning property in the state. Similar territorial laws were enacted as early as 1844. So that wasn't even, that wasn't even like what they freed the slaves and whatnot in 1865. Which I guess they had freemen back then as well. But it's like they didn't even have. Anyway, this place is crazy. Ohio, between 1804 and 1807, Ohio passed black laws that require newly arriving black immigrants to produce a certificate proving their freedom and post a $500 bond guaranteed by two white residents within 20 days of moving. God damn. It's like, who the fuck wants to live in fucking Ohio? Indiana, the state constitution of 1851 explicitly barred black Americans and mulattoes. Let's look at that. What's a mulatto? Mulatto is a dated term. Why they got Jake dressed like that? I thought Jake wasn't. Why they got Drake dressed like this in this Victorian era garment? What's that say? Don Fran de Robe? You mean a Italian black man? Don Domenico? Do Domingo? An Italian... what? Don Pizzazz? No, this is blackwashing! No! Salaki, I'm fucking having fun. I fucking hate these fucking Edomites. Because they will never show you this shit. And then so this is mulatto. That just looks like a regular everyday Jake. With extra face jewelry. And why we see Edomites with that shit? See them nose plugs and all that? All that gold, man. They had the hats. Anyway, mulatto is a dated and historically controversial term for a person of mixed white and black ancestry. The offspring of one black parent and one white parent. So you just mix. That's not even mixed. Ain't no such thing as being mixed. You are what your father is. So if your father was an Edomite, guess what? You were Edomite. If your father was a Jake or a so-called black man, guess what? You most likely going to be an Israelite. If your father goes back to Israel, one of the 12 tribes, guess what? You're an Israelite. It don't matter how you look because we scattered in all the nations. We don't look like this no more. We don't look how we looked when we came out of Egypt. So I'm not even going to really look at that no more. Anyway, Indiana, the state's constitution of 1851 explicitly barred black Americans and mulattoes from immigrating into and settling in the state. So you couldn't even go. You couldn't even go there. What happened? But that's where Michael Jackson's from. Gary, Indiana. Michael Jackson's from there. What happened? Illinois passed highly restrictive black laws starting in 1819. Man, highly restrictive black laws starting in 1819 and revised throughout the 1840s, which heavily fined any resident for harboring or employing a black person without an official certificate of freedom. And now you about to come back again, because now the official certificate is going to be that MOTB implanted in your right hand or in your forehead, and it don't matter which hand it is really. You're gonna have that shit implanted in your hand. That's going to be your certificate of identification. If you truly want to be free, you're going to have to get this MOTB. A black person without an official certificate of freedom, effectively working to deter black migration to the state. So that doesn't sound like hate. That doesn't sound like a perpetual hatred. No, that sounds like love. That sounds like the love of that sounds like the tender mercies of the cruel or the wicked. So, hey, that's all I'm gonna get on this. That's let me read that last part. Following the Civil War and Reconstruction, many of these formal territorial and constitutional exclusion clauses were struck down by the 14th Amendment and federal civil rights acts. They were replaced by black codes. Let me get that. I'm gonna just read that for later. And systemic housing policies that birthed sundown towns. If you, Jake, you know about sundown towns. You should know. Municipalities that systematically enforce all white populations through intimidation and restrictive real estate covenants rather than written state laws. So, hey, man, look at your fucking history, dog. We get so much for you. I have the definition, perpetual hatred, meaning perpetual hatred refers to a deep-seated, unending hostility or animosity. And didn't it? I read in, what Numbers and Deuteronomy and Exodus, that hatred that Esau, Edom has had towards us, even in Genesis, going all the way back to the beginning. And I could have went all the way back to the beginning in the with Cain and Abel, because Cain hated Abel because of his righteous sacrifice. But again, it describes a state of unforgiveness and sustained opposition where a grudge is passed down or held onto indefinitely. Ooh. Because like right then in 18, they said that law was passed in 1819. What the fuck was Jake doing to you? They make it like, hey, there wasn't no freemen, no free so-called blacks, none of that. They make it seem like all the black people were just in slavery. Meanwhile, there was black people running around. There was black people not running around, but there was black people around, so-called blacks, and y'all were just going around terrorizing them. You can't live here. No, you can't buy a house. Where's your freedom papers? Where's your certificate? You need 2 white people to vouch for you. Good luck with that, nigger. You can't even come in this state, nigger. So if you can't see this, man, nigga, fuck you. Fuck your blind ass. Hope you go deaf too. Says the concept frequently appears in historical, literary, and ideological contexts. Here's a breakdown. Oh, it even brought up Ezekiel 35, of course, because that's the phrase used. The root meaning in the original Hebrew, perpetual, which is ilam. It says olam, but it's ilam, which implies time out of mind to the vanishing point or without an end. Historical animosity in Scripture, it describes the age-old enmity between the Edomites, descendants of Esau, and the Israelites, the descendants of Jacob, because Esau was deceived. You know what? Yeah, he was. Yeah, you got supplanted, Esau. However you want to say it, but it's prophecy. It said the elder shall serve the younger. And you weren't really even deceived, nigga. He just told you straight up. Let me have some of that pottage. Please, Jacob, please. I'm starving. Let me get that birthright. Come up off that birthright. Oh, what is this birthright gonna do for me? I'm about to die. I don't even care. And it said you treated it with contempt. You treated it like garbage. The same way that you treat the laws of the Bible today. You treated it like garbage. For hard R. Garbage. Because Esau was deceived out of his birthright. That's written by a fucking Edomite. Because Esau was deceived out of his birthright, the grievance was passed down through generations, resulting in long-standing warfare and betrayal. Cherished hatred. Some theologians highlight that holding on to this kind of perpetual hatred often involves cherishing the animosity, making it an entrenched part of a group or individual's identity. Yeah, this is a part of your identity, Esau. This is a part of you. This is a part of your history. This is who you are, Esau. And I put in here laws that I just copied and pasted what I put in there. Laws that barred blacks from, entering or laws that barred blacks from living in certain states in the U.S. versus perpetual hatred. And it says state level black exclusion laws and local sundown town ordinances were formal, legal mechanisms used to maintain white supremacy. They serve as the historical foundation for the systemic generational discrimination and perpetual prejudice that have continued to impact black Americans. Now, it's not just black Americans, it's blacks, Latinos, Native Americans, you so-called Mexicans, whatever. You still see that hatred today. Look at ICE. Look at the laws that are being passed. Look at that's what I was gonna do. This is why you have things where, like in Florida, this in Texas that's going on right now, where they call this stuff woke and DEI policies, all that kind of stuff. All they want to do is erase the history so you can forget, and they can keep their perpetual hatred going. And so you'll have dumbass Jake going, "Oh, the white man ain't done nothing to nobody." Meanwhile, you don't know your fucking history. Recent State Board of Education curriculum revisions in Texas has scaled back lessons on racial segregation, slave revolts, and the systemic causes of the Civil War. These changes, which were driven by conservative board members and appointed advisors, aim to de-emphasize lessons on racial injustice in public classrooms. So guess what? You keep that shit going. You keep that perpetual hatred alive, keeping the people fucking ignorant. Meanwhile, we know, the prophets know, it's already too late. Hide all the shit that you want to do. It ain't gonna stop fucking prophecy. It ain't gonna stop this place from the nukes being dropped. It ain't gonna stop you from going into slavery. It ain't gonna stop you from being blotted out after your slavery is over. Where was I? And I already went through that, but they serve as the historical foundation for systemic generational discrimination and perpetual prejudice that have continued to impact black Americans. Long before the Jim Crow era, various states and territories legally barred black Americans from residing within their borders to construct segregated all-white utopias. And you see they try to do that today. I can't remember what state that was in. That's not no, because they had that in South Africa. They had it in one of these southern states. Arkansas is a whites only enclave in the Ozarks of Arkansas. They living in the mountains again. There they are. That's their Mount Sear. So, there's that, and you see, that's that. It's in Arkansas. I wanted to picture that nigga. That I don't know what the fuck. What all white utopia is a Pagani car. All white utopia is a nigga woman wearing white clothes. Okay, I was hoping to see a picture of that. I was hoping to see a picture of this dude, this top one. I'm not this dude, this nigga. But anyway, and that's that symbol goes back to Elam, and they just flipped it over. But anyway, Ohio, all that stuff. Let me see. I'm just gonna jump down because I already went over that, and I'm about to close out. The link to perpetual hatred. The concept of perpetual hatred describes the deeply institutionalized anti-black racism that evolved from these exclusionary policies. Because legal segregation wasn't just Southern phenomenon, but a nationwide reality, anti-black prejudice became structurally baked into American real estate, policing, and social systems. The legacy of being legally unwanted manifests today in extreme racial wealth gaps, persistent housing segregation, and ongoing systemic inequality across the United States. So that's really all I'm going to do for this. Hey, Lord willing, this is edifying. I'm going to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rachakwadash, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the 144,000 and the rest of the elect. Hey, Shalom.